You are now watching The Meech.
When it comes to the most important Nintendo Switch games, you likely think of how The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom brought Zelda into the open world. If you're like me, you're also probably thinking about the creative renaissance and return to form that is Super Mario Odyssey, or how Kirby was finally brought into the third dimension with Kirby in the Forgotten Land, or even Pikmin 4 after finally being completed after being near completion since 2015. All these games broke boundaries for the respective series, and are widely considered not just some of the best, but some of the most important games in their respective series. And it makes sense, but Nintendo just released a game that's often been overlooked or just brushed off, and it's actually way more important than people realize. 2024 is not as light of a year for the Switch as many have claimed. It's a lot of remakes, but come on, we're getting a remake of one of the greatest games of all time. Is it really that light? Even though it's considered a smaller title, I for one also love the Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake. And even though Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is my favorite Nintendo 3DS game, I'm still reserving judgment until I see more of the remake. And yeah, I still call it Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. What am I, a Brit? Either way, I'm just gonna wait until the game fancies me. Alright, I think that's called the Goomba effect. But by far the most interesting game of Nintendo's 2024 is a game I honestly never thought we'd get again. A brand new game starring Princess Peach, being none other than Princess Peach Showtime. The last time we had a Princess Peach game was 2006, with Super Princess Peach on the Nintendo DS. I've been wanting Nintendo to give a Peach game another go, and after nearly 2 decades, it's finally here. I don't think people realize how important Princess Peach Showtime truly is, not only because it's a new Princess Peach game, but because it very well could be the start of a new series. Luigi has Luigi's Mansion, Yoshi has Yoshi's Island and Yoshi's Cookie, Mario and Yoshi doesn't count, it never happened! And Wario has WarioWare and Wario Land. Even Toad has Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and I am dying for a sequel. With Super Princess Peach, it's a role reversal Super Mario Bros. Style game, but with its own mechanics and theming. But Princess Peach Showtime is an entirely different kind of game. It's an action-adventure game with many different transformations for Peach, leading to a ton of confusion as to what the game actually is. The demo of Princess Peach Showtime certainly didn't help matters. There are quite a few bad Nintendo Switch games, and I always see excuses defending them, but I'm seeing a lot of backlash towards Princess Peach Showtime. You're trying to tell me that a game that doesn't have golf until 7 months later gets the excuse? What's keeping you engaged? But Peach Showtime? Now that's where you draw the line? Excuse me? I've also seen the claim many times that the game is nothing more than directionless slop and nothing more than a shallow minigame collection. Considering it is my duty to cover bad or polarizing Nintendo games, wasn't a matter of if I was gonna review Princess Peach Showtime, it was a matter of when. So after having a blast at PAX East,
I was right.
He was right!
I got back home, greeted to a package from Best Buy including a charming acrylic stand, and Princess Peach Showtime. Here's the questions I had going into the game. Is Princess Peach Showtime truly directionless slop? Is it too short? Is it too easy? Or could it actually be as sparkly as a sparkle gem? And most importantly, could this be the next Luigi's Mansion, and could it be the start of a brand new series for Princess Peach? Time to find out. Our story begins with Princess Peach and the Toads going to Sparkle Theater to watch a play, but unfortunately, not everything goes according to plan, because a new villain being Grape wreaks havoc on Sparkle Theater, causing all the plays to be written according to Grape's own vision, with her Sour Bunch minions. Peach then meets a new companion being Stella, who is the guardian of Sparkle Theater, and it's up to Peach and Stella to restore Sparkle Theater and save the Theets. Who exactly are the Theets? The game starts off by explaining that they were originally from an alien federation. That alien federation became so overpopulated that their ruler froze them. They then got dumped into a volcano in Hawaii and transformed into souls, which is what causes the emotions of you, of me, and Princess Peach. Wait, what? Sorry, wrong Theets. Here's the brochure for Sparkle Theater. Those other Theets? Well, let's just say they like to hang around John Travolta and his good buddy Tom Cruise. There's a bit more to Princess Peach Showtime's story than you'd initially expect. It's nothing mind-blowing, or even to the level of the Mario RPGs, but it's neat watching more of the story unfold as you progress through the game. Grape, Stella, the Theets, all of these are brand new characters. In fact, other than the Toads, you'd be surprised to realize that there's hardly any Mario influence at all. But you know what? This is actually a good thing. A really good thing. Nintendo very well could have made the plot still take place at Sparkle Theater, but Mario and Luigi get captured by Bowser and his minions. But they didn't do that. Instead, they created a new world of characters and lore for Princess Peach to deal with, which not only gives Showtime an identity of its own, but sets an excellent foundation for a potential new series. The Theets are the main characters you'll be interacting with. They're charming characters with big bulbous noses that light up as they speak, and they wear a ton of different costumes too, a bit similar to the Toads in that way. It's always cool when the locations have their own local NPCs, such as the Piantos in Super Mario Sunshine, or Toasteranians in Super Mario Odyssey Sand Kingdom. But the real highlight is Grape and her Sour Bunch. First of all, very clever to have Peach's nemesis be Grape. While a peach is sweet, grapes can be very sour. It's so clever and makes so much sense. But Grape overall is a really cool villain. It's always refreshing seeing new villains in the Mario series, especially female villains. We haven't seen that since Captain Syrup in Wario Land, and Grape gets progressively more interesting as the game goes on. I'd honestly like to see her in the next Super Smash Bros. I also like the Sour Bunch. They're often burglars that look like grapes and have masks. I do wish there was a bit more variety with them, but overall, it's excellent having a new story and cast of characters, especially starting off a potential series for Princess Peach. Princess Peach Showtime has proven to be very creative with the story and new characters, but more importantly than ever, gameplay is going to be the ultimate test, because the gameplay of Princess Peach Showtime has either confused people as to what exactly it's going for, or it's just been scrutinized. I'll even admit, I wasn't sure what kind of game it was going to be. Is it truly a directionless minigame collection? Is the real question. The gameplay of Princess Peach Showtime can be described in two parts, or acts considering that this is theater we're talking about. When you're initially exploring a level, you'll often start off as regular Princess Peach. You'll start off the levels by interacting with the environment and Theets. The controls are very simple. You use the analog stick to move, A to jump, B to perform actions, and ZL or ZR to pose. Now here's something you'd never expect, but it's a really cool thing. Princess Peach Showtime is an excellent game to play with the Nintendo 64 controller. It feels tailor-made for it, and it got me thinking, what if someone made Princess Peach Showtime for the Nintendo 64? I actually played a bit of the game with it, but then I realized that this is 2024, and we use real controllers now, not ones designed for circus freaks anymore. You might think that's a build-up to me roasting the game, but honestly, I just found it to be cool and a fun use of the Nintendo 64 Switch controller. A game doesn't need a lot of button inputs to be good, and the good news is that Princess Peach Showtime controls exactly how you'd expect. Everything feels rock solid, and the physics are also good. Though I do wish Peach could float with her dress. The standard Peach segments primarily serve as a build-up to the true star of each show, the transformations, officially known as ensembles. Each transformation corresponds with the play Peach is performing in, such as Peach transforming into a cowgirl in the Old Western plays, and even a mermaid in the plays themed around the deep blue sea. The transformations are the highlight and the main selling point of Princess Peach Showtime, which is why I'm not going to spoil later levels, but you will encounter a majority of the transformations by the halfway mark. The transformations can radically alter the gameplay, but not all of them. Remember the demo that only showcased Sword Fighter and Patisserie Peach? That's precisely why many saw Showtime as a minigame collection, because those two transformations couldn't be more different. Here's how the transformations work. Peach transforms depending on the play, and each play will have a different gameplay style. Sword Fighter Peach's levels are a bit similar to a beat 'em up, where you need to dodge and slice up the Sour Bunch. Cowgirl Peach's levels will have Peach wrangling up the Sour Bunch, and even riding a horse in some auto-running segments. Mermaid Peach's levels have her control fish with her golden mermaid voice to uncover secrets and take out music note fish. And Ninja Peach's levels combine attacking enemies and sneaking around the level to avoid them and get collectibles. What you're doing in each play might be very different, so much so where the game can essentially be many different genres, but there is direction and there is consistency. The level design for the most part remains consistent regardless of what transformation Peach is using. The levels are linear and have many sparkle gems to obtain. The only plays that are drastically different are with Patisserie Peaches and Detective Peaches. The Patisserie Peach levels have Peach baking cookies and decorating cakes with ultra precision, so it essentially becomes like Cooking Mama. Minus the, questionable gold mining, if you know what I mean. Whereas Detective Peach's levels have Peach solving mysteries. The first one involves recovering a stolen mural from a museum, but the second one is so outlandish and just so ridiculous that I won't be spoiling it. You gotta see that one for yourself. What you're doing in plays might not be consistent, but you know what is consistent? How much fun all the plays are. What makes Princess Peach Showtime so enjoyable is the amount of variety. The transformations not only prevent the game from feeling stale, but are an absolute blast. My favorites out of them are easily Detective Peach and Ninja Peach. What's a game supposed to be more than anything? Fun. And Princess Peach Showtime absolutely delivers. See, the concern with a game like this is that the transformations could have unfortunately been a hodgepodge of ideas, with some being good and others just being completely horrible. But honestly, I had fun with all of them, even Patisserie Peach. I ask myself constantly while playing through the game, are there any of them where I play them and I'm like, nope, never want to do this again? But no, I enjoyed all the transformations. I'm quite impressed all of them managed to be a home run, without any sour grapes. One of my favorite elements of Princess Peach Showtime is something I always love to see. Starting with Super Mario Odyssey, Mario and friends have had a lot more outfits and customization options. And in Showtime, you can unlock new dresses for Princess Peach and ribbons for Stella. It's purely cosmetic, but it's such a nice feature. I like going with the special detective or kung fu dress for Peach. I do wish there were more color options though. None of the transformations are an issue, but unfortunately, Princess Peach Showtime isn't all peaches and cream, because unfortunately, there are some glaring issues with the game. The question is, will they sour the experience enough to completely ruin the game? All the plays have sparkle gems to obtain. These are similar to green stars in Super Mario 3D World, or the big purple coins in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And there are also bows and ribbons for Peach and Stella that you'll find in the levels. You'll get those by finding a charming old thief in the plays. Now, I love collectibles like this. It encourages exploring every nook and cranny of a level, and makes the game have a lot more depth. But unfortunately, Princess Peach Showtime took some inspiration from the first Super Mario Bros., and it doesn't allow you to backtrack. Wow, I guess the Paper Mario 1000-Year Door detractors really got to good feels hard. If you missed a sparkle gem, you'll often find out too late. Because you can't backtrack, that means you'll have to play the entire level all over again to get the collectibles you missed. I felt like nearly every level I played, I missed at least one sparkle gem or collectible. I quite enjoy replaying levels, but Princess Peach Showtime does so in a way which essentially requires you to play a level at least twice if you miss something. You can definitely find all of them in one playthrough, but I guarantee you'll miss at least a few during your first playthrough. Even if backtracking wasn't an option due to the gameplay style switching, you know what would have been really nice? A chapter select in levels. These levels are pretty long, and if you miss the sparkle gem, it would be nice to just choose which part of the level to play, so you can obtain that sparkle gem you missed. It's not like Super Mario Bros. Wonder where if you miss a big purple coin, you can usually backtrack for it. Or if you truly missed it, levels are only 2.5 to 4 minutes long. The good news is that you don't need all the sparkle gems to beat the game. You'll have no problem getting an ample amount to reach each floor. But for those going for 100%, that's where it's going to be a problem. And that's the main criticism I have with the gameplay so far. Another issue is with the pacing of the game. The Theats are charming, but they'll often interrupt a level to either showcase what's going on, or to progress a level. When they're explaining what's going on at the beginning of a level, that's fine. But other times, they halt the pace of the game. Why does Peach need to wait for them to open a door? It feels handholdy and completely unnecessary. It's not that big of an issue, but I feel the game could have been more relaxed and let the player decide what to do next. I understand it was likely intentional to showcase a world of Sparkle Theater and the lives of the Theats, essentially creating a living, breathing world. But you also can't skip these moments either, even when replaying levels. Some of the cutscenes you can skip, but not these. It's the lack of backtracking that's the major issue, but this is something still worth bringing up. The more I played the game, it wasn't too much of an issue, but regardless, pacing can still be a problem for some. Now the bosses of the game, where do I even begin? These bosses are actually not an issue. I just wanted to throw you off. Yeah, considering the blunder of Wonder being, oops, all Bowser Jr., I've been on edge when it comes to bosses even in Mario spin-offs, but Princess Peach Showtime has some excellent bosses. I'll only be showcasing the first one, but they're very creative design-wise and are a ton of fun to play. My favorite design-wise is the second boss, my favorite boss stage is the third one, and my favorite overall is the stellar and shocking final boss. I will say, transformations are my favorite part of Princess Peach Showtime, but the bosses are the butter on the popcorn. But now we get into one of the main concerns about the game. Is it mindlessly easy? I'm happy to say that while it is an easy game, there's still challenge, and it's still engaging. It mostly comes from obtaining all the collectibles and going for 100%. Even if the game had backtracking, it wouldn't be a mindless baby game. Like with all Nintendo games, a hard mode would have been nice, though considering I expected Showtime to be easy, it's about what I expected, but is still an engaging experience. Princess Peach Showtime is not a directionless minigame collection, but the lack of backtracking, a chapter select, and the issues with the pacing are a problem, and could steer players away from 100%ing the game. I'm still going to, because I've quite enjoyed the game, but if there's one area I was very concerned about, it's the presentation and the performance. The demo did not make a good first impression when it came to those. The resolution was surprisingly low, and a lot of the cutscenes were about as choppy as a slap chop. But is it just as bad in the final game? Let's start with the visual presentation. Goodfeel is the developer of Princess Peach Showtime. What they're known to do is have a theme such as Yarn with Kirby's Epic Yarn and Yoshi's Woolly World, and Arts and Crafts with Yoshi's Crafted World, and just go all out with it. And with Princess Peach Showtime, the theme is theater. Every level is crafted to look like it's a set piece in a play. The levels consist of props that you'd typically see in a play, and even some of the enemies have strings attached like a marionette, or should I say, Marionette. It's a really interesting theme, and I gotta say, I love the designs of the plays. Now, I wasn't a theater student, but I did go to an art school, where we did 2 shows each year. Funny story about one of them, my principal went up on stage to talk about the concession stand and how it would be open during the intermission of the play. And instead of just advertising it normally, she said that there was coffee being served, and the way she did so was like this. Oh, we got coffee at our concession stand. It might not be as fancy as Starbucks. You know, with their coffee, they put in caramel and sugar and poop. She said that in an audience of likely over 1,000 people and all the students' families. And 2 of my siblings did theater, so I'm very familiar with it. They nailed the theming, and it's great. But unfortunately, there's a pretty big problem with the presentation. Princess Peach Showtime doesn't look as good as it could have. The resolution is surprisingly low, making everything look blurry and not appealing. It's even worse in handheld mode. If you have a TV that's around 43 inches or less, it might look better. But if you have a larger TV, it's not gonna look great. And you might think this is a Switch problem, but a game like Luigi's Mansion 3 still looks great on my TV. This is a problem with Princess Peach Showtime, and it shouldn't have been an issue even to begin with. But the strangest issue, and easily the worst in terms of the presentation, is with performance. During the in-game cutscenes, such as when Peach talks to Stella, encountering a boss, and transforming, the frame rate becomes incredibly choppy. When you see Peach transform, that's supposed to leave a lasting impression, but with how choppy it is, it's hard to get immersed. You're more likely to be off-put and just shocked. The good news is that the frame rate is consistently 30 frames per second in the main game. Cutscenes and such are the only issues. But I don't understand why. Why does Princess Peach Showtime struggle so hard when it comes to cutscenes and loading screens? And the weirdest part? Princess Peach Showtime actually has some very nice looking cutscenes for the intro and for the final boss and level. That's because those have likely been pre-rendered and are likely just playing back a video. The issue is when the cutscenes are rendered in-game. They look bad, and at the very least, I would have had all the transformations be pre-rendered cutscenes that look just as good as the intro. Boss intros as well. It's not like you're interacting with these cutscenes anyway. All they need to do is play back a video. Also, just look at the loading screens. A simple curtain and purple vortex are so choppy and look so bad. They should have just been cut out entirely. Even if that means just a black loading screen or a still image. Have those instead. That's how bad they look. I don't understand why there are performance issues at all, let alone a low resolution. Princess Peach Showtime is not a demanding game. There is no reason why it couldn't have been at a higher resolution and had smooth cutscenes. My only take is that Goodfeel isn't good at optimizing games made in Unreal Engine 4. Yoshi's Crafted World also had a low resolution, but it was nowhere near as bad, and that at least maintained a rock-solid 60 frames per second. I had no idea what went wrong here. It doesn't mean Nintendo Switch couldn't handle it, and we need a Nintendo Switch 2 tomorrow. It just means that Princess Peach Showtime has shocking and unfortunate issues with the presentation. But hey, unlike Yoshi's Crafted World, the music in Princess Peach Showtime is stellar. The music fits the place very well, and all of it sounds great. My favorite tracks in particular are the Mermaid Peach tracks. It doesn't go for a specific genre, but all of it has that consistently relaxing good feel sound, and it's great. Sound design is mostly serviceable, but again, issues. Princess Peach herself, and I gotta be blunt, she sounds disinterested and so low energy, almost to the point of sounding emo.
What's wrong? Yes! That's Peachy!
Some may argue that it's Samantha Kelly getting older, but Peach sounded just fine in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so again, I'm confused and have no idea what happened there. And she doesn't sound good in Showtime. One of the things you'll notice about Princess Peach Showtime is just how much the Theets say. You'd be surprised to find out just how text-heavy the game is, which is why I think that it needed voice acting. We saw it with the talking flowers in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so they could have had it here, but unfortunately, it's all text with no voice acting for the Theets, which is a real shame. Considering Princess Peach Showtime is all about theater, it's ironic and baffling that performance is where the game really starts to falter. When it comes to content, Princess Peach Showtime will likely take 8 hours to beat, but if you're going for 100%, you're looking at about 17 to 20 hours, which is pretty standard length and I don't feel is too short. Now if you want to go for 100%, that's mainly if you vibe with the game. A lot of 100%ing the game is getting all the sparkle gems and collectibles, but there is some additional content, such as boss rematches when you beat the game, where you can obtain even more sparkle gems. These can get very challenging, and it's quite refreshing, and since the bosses are a ton of fun, I'm always happy to replay them. There are also the rehearsals for the play. Peach will take on a transformation, and you'll have to complete a certain challenge to get a new dress for Peach. These can also get very challenging. When people say that the game is mindlessly easy, I don't think they're accounting for 100%ing the game, the rehearsals, or the boss rematches. Yet again with gaming journalism, it's about beating the game as fast as possible, and not savoring every moment. Princess Peach Showtime has a good amount of content, but it's really the lack of backtracking and a chapter select that brings some of the replay value down, just like with the general gameplay. So far we've established Princess Peach Showtime is quite an enjoyable game. The transformations add a ton of variety, and all of them are a blast, and the theater theme is charming, not to mention the excellent new characters. But unfortunately, this production has some glaring issues with performance, and oversights like the lack of backtracking and some pacing issues brought down the curtain a bit too far. So what's the verdict? Considering how polarizing Princess Peach Showtime is, I wasn't sure how I'd end up feeling after I beat the game. There were times where I thought it was better than I expected, but sometimes worse than I expected. But after beating it, I can say with confidence that Princess Peach Showtime is indeed a good game. You'd expect me to be disappointed with the flaws, but it's weird. Outside of performance, I wasn't too bummed out, mostly because I found the overall game to be enjoyable to the point where the issues were outweighed by just how much fun I was having, and just how unique it is. There's no other game like Princess Peach Showtime. That's why it's hard to really compare it to anything. Unlike Super Princess Peach, I do feel that Princess Peach Showtime has more potential to become a full-on series rather than a one-off game. For a sequel, I not only iron out the flaws, but also would make the game more open and less linear. I do think you can make a sequel to anything, and that game shouldn't just be one and done. I'm just saying that Showtime has a more interesting concept for a potential series than Super Princess Peach did. Speaking of Super Princess Peach, I have to bring this up as well. Growing up, I was always too embarrassed to put Super Princess Peach on my birthday or Christmas list, because that would essentially be saying, "Look, I'm a girl." But when I finally got the game in 2019, I realized I missed out on a true gem for such a stupid reason. Is Princess Peach Showtime too girly or a girl game? Honestly, it's not. Anybody can enjoy it, just like with Mario games. It just so happens to have Peach as a protagonist. I've seen a few comments saying, "I'm embarrassed to play the game." But I just say don't be. What, you think you're gonna get cooties playing it? Should you get Princess Peach Showtime? If you're looking for an absolute masterpiece, maybe not. Princess Peach Showtime is definitely a game that's not for everyone. I enjoyed my time with the game, but I can see how some would find the game to be too basic and not worth the $60. But on the other hand, it's my cat's favorite game. Whenever I play Princess Peach Showtime, she hears it and starts meowing at my door until I let her in. Princess Peach Showtime might not be objectively a masterpiece, but you know what? I am so glad that Nintendo made it. It's not only such a fresh and unique game, but set the foundation for a world and lore for Princess Peach. And I could see a really cool potential series starting with this game. In a world of gaming filled with play-it-safe games, it's nice to see Nintendo take a bit of a risk and do something different. Princess Peach Showtime gets the ranking of Silver Treasure. But the real question is, which is better, Princess Peach Showtime or Super Princess Peach? Join us for the sequel to this Treasure episode with Princess Peach Showtime versus Super Princess Peach. It'll be coming within the next week, and it's going to be interesting seeing which game wins the brawl. So what do you guys think? Did you get Princess Peach Showtime? Or do you plan on getting the game? Or if you're like T&D, are you gonna dismiss it entirely? Let me know in the comments, and keep calm and dada on.